Hello everyone, and welcome to today's National Workforce Development Fund information webinar. My name is Chris Parrish, as you can see on the screen. I'm a Workforce Development Coordinator here with Manufacturing Skills Australia, or MSA. I'm joined here this afternoon by Stephanie Myler, who is our National Workforce Development Fund, or NWDF, Administrator, and Stephanie is also our resident NWDF expert.
Hello and welcome.
All right, well, the purpose of today's webinar is to have a quick look at the National Workforce Development Fund. We'll be looking at how it works, but we'll be focusing more on the submission and the practical considerations involved. However, just before we start, for the purpose of understanding just how in-depth we need to go this afternoon, we've decided to run a quick poll on NWDF knowledge. Your responses are anonymous and gives us a good idea on exactly who's attending this afternoon.
Okay, so our first poll, you'll see there it says, how would you rate your current knowledge of NWDF? A, you know all about it. B, in the process of developing an application. C, have heard something about it. D, have no idea. You can see some people registering their answers now.
So the results are coming in, Stephanie, and it looks like have some idea about it. It's quite strong.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's helpful for us.
Yeah, and hopefully today's presentation will help you build on what you already know. But if you don't know much about it, that's okay. You'll be able to learn something at the same time.
Yeah, well, that's great. Just before we get started, there's a few items that I may make mention of. First, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them in the side panel, which should appear on the left side of your screen. We've allocated a short period of time at the end of the presentation, and we'll do what we can within that time to answer what we can. But please feel free, if you require more information, to contact us at any time. Our contact details will be provided at the end of the presentation, and we would always welcome all your calls. Next, the webinar is being recorded, and a link will be sent to all registered participants. It will also be available via download on our MSA website. Finally, at the end of the presentation, you will have the opportunity to provide us with some feedback. Now, this feedback is handy for us as we develop further webinars.
Right.
All right. Okay, well, let's get started. There are a few features of the fund you may need to be aware of before and as you make your application. First, applications can be made by any enterprise regardless of their size. This includes enterprises that are small, medium or large. They can also be submitted by a consortium of enterprises. This may be a group led by an industry association or any other industry body representing a number of interested organisations. They can also be submitted by employment service providers.
Yeah.
Stephanie, are there any organisations that need not apply?
Yeah, just a quick note here, Chris, that the applicant is always going to be an enterprise or an association or an industry body.
Yes.
An RTO cannot apply on behalf of an enterprise, but they are definitely involved in the application, of course, because they're going to be delivering the training.
And if an RTO is training its own people, they can apply.
Of course, of course.
Another point to make is that applications can be submitted that suit the requirements of any enterprise or any group of organisations, such as a consortium of organisations. The point to make here is the funding allocation is not limited. Okay, well, let's run another poll so we can gain some understanding of what types of organisations are represented this afternoon.
Okay, you can see on your screen it says what best describes your organisation. Are you A, an RTO, B, an enterprise, C, government department, or D, other? Good, we've got some good representations from RTOs and enterprises, which is good.
That's great.
Yep, and some others enrolled in there, so that's good.
Well, that appears to be quite a good mix Stephanie, good
Yeah.
space.
Yeah.
The important point to make here is that fund works off a co-contribution model.
Yep.
This means the government acts in partnership with any participating enterprise or group of enterprises and pays only a contribution to the total training cost. This contribution is dependent on the enterprise size, and as you can see on the diagram that should appear on your screen now, a small enterprise is one that's made of 1 to 99 employees, and they can expect 67% of their total training costs covered. So this is like if you're training 3 people within your enterprise, you get 2 for free, and 1 that you contribute to. A medium enterprise is 1 to 199 employees. They can attract 50% of the total training cost. This means if you train 2 people, you can get 1 government support. Lastly, a large enterprise is 200 or more employees, and they can expect 33% of their total training costs covered. This is like train 3, get 1 for free. Okay. Eligibility for training. On the screen you will see the main eligibility criteria. We'll have a quick look at that and some discussion. A candidate must not have previously completed the qualification they are applied for. They must have satisfied all prerequisite or licensing requirements. Applications can be submitted for nationally recognised qualifications, that is, Certificate 2 to Vocational Graduate Diploma. Applications can also be submitted for endorsed skill sets that are included within any nationally recognised training package. Now, Steph, I might ask you, if I can, how does it work in relation to skill sets?
Okay, so a skill set does require some additional evidentiary support. We do encourage you to apply for a skill set. However, this must be one that sits under a nationally recognised training package. It's not one that an enterprise or an RTO can just make up with a conglomerate of competencies that they have just pulled out from a variety of different training packages. If you do want to go down the skill set pathway, we are happy to assist you and ensure that it does meet the selection criteria. So if you want to do that, please give us a call and we'll help you through that process.
Okay, that's great. There's a couple of other criteria that I should make mention of. Candidates must be Australian citizens, permanent residents or humanitarian refugees. They must be 17 years of age or older.
Yep.
There are eligible criteria for existing workers and new workers, including job seekers. Now, I might just ask Steph, in relation to NWDF, this varies from the state model, doesn't it?
Yes, that's correct, Chris. Under the state model, an existing worker is somebody who's been there for longer than 3 months, and a new worker is somebody who has been hired in the recent 3 months. However, with the National Workforce Development Fund, a new worker is somebody who does not yet work for the enterprise, and they come through a government-approved job services agency. An existing worker is somebody who's already hired. So again, if you want to go down the path of the new workers, then please give us a call and we can assist you because there are some additional requirements necessary for the new workers.
Okay. I would know that some of the participants this afternoon may already have a application in or submitted. We might run a poll number 3, and this is our final poll, on who attending this afternoon may already be involved in submitting an application. Okay. So there we can see a good percentage haven't, so that's great.
Yep.
Some people have. About even 1 to 3 split.
Yeah, so we've got 26% who have got some kind of an application going and 73% who have not done any. So
quite a few people that may be considering an application.
That's correct.
That's great.
Okay.
Well, at this point, I might invite Stephanie being our resident NWDF expert, to walk us through the practical side of submitting an application. Thanks, Steph.
Okay, so as Chris mentioned, there's quite a number of eligibility criteria that we have to go through. We've put together a little diagram here to assist you in seeing just a step-by-step process of the application and how it all works. So let's jump to this section here with assessment. We'll presume that you've gotten in touch with MSA, you've discussed your needs, you've completed your application, and now you're ready to submit it. So what then happens is, as you can see here, MSA will conduct a compliance check to ensure that your application fits the selection criteria set out by the government and the strategic directions of the fund. We'll also give your project a priority rating, and then your application will be submitted to the Department of Industry. In some cases, the Australian Workplace Productivity Agency also gets involved. And what they do with MSA is assess your application based on 2 points: the capacity to benefit and the value for money for the training. After this has happened, the department then makes a recommendation through to the minister, and currently it's the Minister of Industry, who then will approve the funding and release the money. It should be noted here also that at the moment there are some delays with the Minister approving funding. However, the Department of Industry is encouraging MSA to continue to submit applications, and therefore we are encouraging you to continue to put in applications as well. Once the Minister has released the funding, we then move on to the commencement of the project. So we'll advise you. We'll also send you out a memorandum of understanding or a contract. The applicant and the RTO will sign the memorandum, and then your project is able to begin. All right, let's move on.
So there's quite some documentation to be completed, isn't
Correct.
there, Stephanie?
And you can see here from my slide that there's quite a bit of documentation and supporting evidence that you will need to submit with your application. So what I'd like to do is take you through some samples that we have developed for you so that you can see them here and now, but also after the presentation, if you'd like to get in contact with us, we can send you our information pack, which includes these samples as well as templates, as well as some additional information for your reference.
I suppose we can't emphasise strong enough the amount of support that's available.
Absolutely. We're happy to help with the entire process of the application, even to the point of coming out to visit you if you require. Okay, so first of all, the applicant or the enterprise needs to submit some evidentiary support. So the first thing is a business case. So I'll just show you a template that we have going on. I'm just going to change from the PowerPoint to a document. I hope everybody can see this now. This is something that you would receive in your information pack. Okay, and it looks a little bit like this. This is one that we've prepared earlier for you. And it looks a little bit like this. Now, the point of this document is to provide a story about your organisation and to show really what is the situation that's happening in your organisation and the training need. So the business case is quite in-depth, and it asks you various questions like, what happens in your business? What do you do? Who are you? How many staff do you employ? How are you structured? What are the positions? It then moves on to your business aims. So what are the goals for your organisation? Where do you hope to be in the next 5 years? What is it that you hope to achieve? And then we move on to drivers and challenges. And what this really does is explain what is happening in your organisation, as I mentioned, but also we want to say here that it's important to include what is the cause and effect. So what are the challenges, but how is this affecting your organization? And as you scroll through this business case, you'll see here that it goes on to explain what you have worked out are your needs, how you will reach those needs, what are your solutions to some of these problems that you're facing. So it could be, as you can see on your screen, things like internal restructure, buying more equipment, implementing more systems and processes that will assist you. And then lastly, of course, is your workforce solutions. And this is where we start to explain our training solution and what the training is specifically and how that links to your strategic directions as a company, and also to assist you in starting to address some of those gaps that you've identified in the beginning of the document. And lastly, as we scroll through, I'm sorry if I'm going a bit fast, but as we scroll through to the bottom here, you then need to explain to the government what are the benefits of doing this training. So not only the benefits to your business as a whole or to the industry, but to your individual employees. You need to specify for them how this training will benefit individuals. And this really helps the government to see why they should assist you in this training. So as I mentioned, again, if you have any questions about this, we can help you. And if you want to contact us, please feel free.
I imagine, Stephanie, that a lot of enterprises and businesses would already have these cases written into their business models.
Absolutely.
And that's what the government would like to know about.
Exactly. So I'll now show you our workforce development plan. So this is the second one on the PowerPoint. It looks a little bit like this. And we've used the tool Skills Manager to create this workforce development plan. A lot of people, when they put in their application, they ask me, the business case and the workforce development plan are the same thing. You may use similar information to produce both of these documents. However, you'll find that the business case is really specific towards the training needs, and the training that you anticipate conducting. Whereas your workforce development plan really is a whole entire organization assessment, and it's really about looking at what are your gaps and how you plan to address those gaps. So you can see on this template that we've provided, we've divided it into departments, and we've looked at things like what are the issues in each of these departments, what are the implications for the workforce, and then also what is the action that's going to be taken or required. And you will find in this workforce development plan, this will include people or employees' plans of action that are not included in the National Workforce Development Fund application.
I might just make mention, Stephanie, if I could, that the development of workforce plan is a good business operation anyway.
Absolutely.
And Manufacturing Skills Australia, or MSA, have available tools, and I think we see on screen an example of that tool in operation. And we offer those tools to all people who want to use them, and they're offered completely for free. Now, we're not here to discuss those tools in particular, but it's interesting to note they're available. Please talk to us about them, and they can help you with your workforce development plan.
Yep, absolutely, Chris. And we're happy to help you with any questions that you have. So, just as a little conclusion for the workforce development plan, things that you can include here are your business goals for now and in the future, and it might address things like training needs, gaps, labour hire needs. And then it also will include things like how you plan to stay in business, so recruitment actions, or action plans, retention and training plans as well. You may also like to include, some applicants have included things like a training needs analysis, which is really good because it assesses on an individual basis the kind of training needs that each individual employee has participated in the past and will do so in the present or in the future. So that's another way of showing workforce planning. I should note also that this is just one example. This is our example. The government is not specific about how to present a workforce development plan. They just ask you to address as you can see, these 4 things. What are the issues? What are the implications? And what do you plan to do about it? So if you have something already as an organization, in a different format, some organizations call them learning and development plans or training needs analysis, as I mentioned, then those are acceptable as well. Again, if you're not sure, send it through to us and we can give you some assistance.
The government would be looking to see value for its investment, or should I say the taxpayer is looking for value in their investment.
Exactly. And that's what these documents really go towards, showing that there is a benefit for them and that also that there is some value in it. Okay, and if you look at your screen now, I've just clicked over to our 3rd document, which is a letter of co-contribution. So you might remember just a few minutes ago, Chris talked about the eligibility criteria for the fund. So you'll notice in this letter it does address 2 of those eligibility criteria, that the trainees have not completed the course prior to applying for the fund, which is mentioned here. And number 3, that all trainees are Australian citizens, permanent residents, humanitarian refugees, and 17 years of age or over. You'll also notice here that there are 2 more additional things. Number 1, that you need to specify to the government that you are committed to paying the co-contribution cost. So if we go back to the beginning, Chris mentioned that they're dependent on the size of your organisation will depend on your co-contribution cost. So the government wants you to just show that you are committed to paying that contribution for the training. Number 4, if you have a look here, it says that you confirm as an organisation that you have not accessed any other sources of funding. And this is really important because the government wants to be assured that you are not trying to access state funding or other federal types of funding as well as the NWDF. You can only access one type of funding at one time.
No double dipping, Stephanie.
That's correct, Chris. No double dipping. Okay, I'll just change us back to our slideshow. So you'll see here we've gone through those 3 or 4 points for our applicant to provide evidentiary support. Now for our RTO. So as an RTO, and as our poll showed, there's quite a number of RTOs represented today. From you, we will need a training plan and a proposal including a cost breakdown and justification. So what will be the kind of information we want to see here is what is included in your training. So what, who, where, why, and how much the training is going to cost. So one way to think of it is what you would provide your organization, your client, as a proposal. We want to see that with the additional information of the breakdown of the cost per person and a justification for why you are charging that much. You may include things like language literacy and numeracy support, and there is another fund called the WELL Fund, which you can apply for to, again, get access to some monies to support language literacy and numeracy. Okay, so...
Okay, So there's some critical dates that applicants should be aware of.
Let me switch my slide. So it should be noted here that it is the enterprise's responsibility to develop the application, and we will be in contact with the enterprise to ensure their commitment. And once your application has been approved, there's some dates you need to remember. So for this financial year, enrolments need to be completed by the 30th of June 2014. And then you have 6 months to start your training from the date of enrolment. And then, as it's shown on the slide, we've got till the 31st of December to complete your project and your training. Nice and easy. So just as we mentioned earlier, a quick reminder that there are some delays with getting the final approval from the Minister, and it's really important to note that no training is to commence until the MOU or the contract has been sent out and signed. So please remember that.
I think we have a question in regards to that, so we might address that in some detail with the questions.
Sure, later on. Sure. Okay, let's move on, Chris.
Okay, to stay in the know, you can check out our website where you can subscribe to our monthly newsletter, and we'll keep you informed of all the developments in relation to NWDF and other matters. You can follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. We also have a range of video case studies, and they're really worth checking out if you're pursuing an NWDF application. They highlight the benefits of NWDF, and you can see how some organisations have really gone forward through their funding. You can either email us and we'll send you a direct link, or the MSA Skills website or channel on YouTube is available through our website.
Yep. Shall we look at some of these questions, Chris?
Yeah, so thanks for your participation this afternoon. We hope you found the presentation helpful. We might have a quick run through the questions.
So the first one says, can we get a copy of this presentation? Absolutely. A link will be sent to you with this presentation as well as our voices. And then we'll show you our contact details. If you want any more information from that, again, we can send you out any more information that you require.
Question from Carlos there, Stephanie. Have you got any indication as to when the Minister may approve any applications? Good question. Very
good question. And it's our aim at MSA to keep you updated as much as we can. So at the moment, we do not know when the Minister will start looking at the applications, but we will keep you updated as much as we can, and as soon as we get any new information, we'll let you know.
Okay, Stephanie, Graham C asks, if you put in a complete small application, what is the likelihood of success so enterprise is aware of whether completing the paperwork is worth the investment?
We understand that the application process is quite in-depth. However, as Chris and I have tried to show you and discuss today, we're happy to assist the enterprise as much as we can. So we understand, yes, it is in-depth. We can't guarantee success on any application, of course. And we want to make sure that the enterprise is aware of the investment. So that's where we will come in and chat with them and discuss their options with them.
Fantastic. Alex is asking, can you clarify whether employers can claim, and this is a good question, can you clarify whether employers can claim NWDF and apprenticeship funding?
Very good question, Alex. You cannot claim funding, two types of funding for one person. So let's say you've got Joe Smith and he is doing an apprenticeship, he cannot claim NWDF at the same time. And if you're getting state funding for Joe Smith, then you cannot get NWDF for him at the same time. However, what we find is that in organisations, you may have, say, 20 people, 10 can access and are eligible for state funding, 10 are not eligible for state funding. And that means that those 10 who are not eligible for state funding are eligible for NWDF.
Okay, Stephanie, Stephen is asking, and this is a recurring theme for us at the moment, but Stephen is asking, what is the approval delay average? And that might be a tight one for you to answer.
Look, every application that NWDF has gone through, that we have had success with them. So every application that's come through MSA, they have been successful. I just want to clarify, with Alex, if you're talking about incentive programs, then you can still access incentive fund, which is not classed as funding. It is a national incentive, which is separate to the NWDF, which you can claim. However, if you are getting state funding through traineeship, you cannot claim for NWDF for the same person.
And Carly makes the point that the apprenticeship incentive funding is separate to the NWDF.
Yes, that's right. Sorry, I misunderstood the question. Any more questions?
Okay, we can be contacted. We just might go to the final slide if we can. Okay. We can be contacted via the numbers and email addresses that you see on the screen. We would welcome, or more than welcome, we encourage people to contact us they can contact me, or they can contact Stephanie, or basically they can contact anybody within MSA. I'm a workforce development coordinator, and there's 4 of us that cover the country. We're more than welcome to go out to individual enterprises or even RTOs and talk people through the process. Stephanie is a full-time with NWDF and available at any time to take calls and answer them when she can. She's busy with the application submission. And we also have our National Workforce Development Manager who's available for questions also. So once again, I'd like to thank everybody for participating. It's been a great presentation, a great time for us, and certainly informative for me, Stephanie. Thank you very much. We'd welcome all people to any other MSA webinars that we intend to do in the future. But just before you go, if we can get you to leave your browser open, we're going to run a quick survey just to gain your feelings and perceptions of our webinar this afternoon. Thank you very much.